And now we're live on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, everybody.
Let me grab this. We're about to talk about some lesbian vampire killers. Odd Mother actually chose this movie for us. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. I know that I did. We gave the month of May to Odd Mother because she's been very good to us here in the padded room, taking care of all of our audio-visual stuff and things like that for the Psycho Bunny Death Cult. She likes it. She likes this movie. And I have seen this movie before, and I didn't care for it so much, but rewatching it now, I feel like I turned a new leaf as far as appreciating certain aspects of it. Monica disagrees. I can tell when she does. That's a go fuck yourself. That's what that means. I know her body language and like her facial. That means fuck you.
We have a Mike in the house.
Mike's in the house.
Who's Mike?
Hey, Mike.
Who's friend you?
I don't know. Mike, what are you doing, man? Good to have you with us here in the padded room.
Parole officer.
Parole officer's in the house. Parole officer. We're talking about starting a horror-themed pizza pub situation. Think about that. I think you're gonna. Well, I'll get with you on that when you get back into town. We got a podcast to do here, baby doll. Nobody this week. Sorry, guys. Ladies. I know the ladies were looking forward to seeing Buddy. Why? I have no idea. I don't know why the ladies love Buddy so much. You think he's hot? You can be honest.
What is that David Lee Roth song I'm thinking
She just changed the subject. That means yes.
Buddy.
I ain't got nobody. Nobody cares for me. Nobody. I'm just a gigolo, and everybody knows. I'm gonna stop singing.
Yeah, we better get into the movie.
All right, let's do a podcast here, shall we? Let's get down to business, you maniacs.
The laughing says it all, Dee.
Who was that said that? Who?
Where are the
shots? Man, let me know we have cash.
Dee, is your liver hurting?
A little bit, dude. I don't know if you guys are. I think I added everybody to the Quarantine Chugs group. These motherfuckers are hammering me like every day, like 2 or 3 people calling me out every day. I'm like, God damn it, stop. I got kids and stuff, and I actually have a job to go to, so let's just chill with the fucking.
Who's Randy?
Brandy?
No, Randy.
Oh, Randy, he's my cousin.
Oh, that's
he's the
cousin.
one that he's hitting me the hardest.
Yeah.
Every night he's on there. He's like, Darian, this is for you and Daly.
And is that his wife? Daughter?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they're going to be in our next movie.
Oh, okay.
We're going to make another movie, and I'm going to put them in it. But we have to wait for this virus shit to go away. All right, we got a podcast to do, man. You ready? Mic's on?
Check.
Let me just double check your mic because you're not very good at that. All right, here we go. That's right, inmates. We are talking about the lesbian vampire killers. Now, if you're watching this movie in the United States, the name was actually changed from lesbian vampire killers to just plain vampire killers. I don't think that was necessary because the lesbian aspect is played up in the film quite a bit. And it's stated quite literally in the film repeatedly that these are, in fact, lesbian vampires.
Yeah.
In fact, it plays into the whole mythology and backstory of the movie. But we'll get into that in a second. This one came in at 5.1 stars, was directed by Phil Clayton and written by Stuart Williams. It stars Phil McGann, the James Corden of late night talk show fame. Now, what is he the host of? Is it Late Late Show or
The Late Show?
The Late Show with
his name, right?
Yeah, he's like a big deal now.
Yeah,
this James
and he
Corden
does
guy.
the ride along with all the superstars.
There you go.
Yeah,
it's a big deal.
They ride along. And
he's a big guy. Is that what they do?
I'm
a Jimmy Fallon man
He's
myself.
not a big guy.
He's bigger.
He's
probably the biggest guy on late night.
He's probably a big guy to you because he's probably
what do you think?
5'7",
220,
maybe 220.
220. That's a stout young man.
And that's probably because he's just short.
I want to be in your guys' movie, Ryan. We will make that happen, my friend. I don't know if you saw it, but we made a previous movie. It's terrible. Don't watch it. But I'm going to make another one because, fuck, I got nothing better to do right now. So But we gotta wait for the virus to clear up. But also starring Mayanna Buring. Now, I'm going to apologize. You know what? I'm not going to apologize. I'm going to tell you straight up. This movie is pointed directly at lesbians, but bear in mind it was made in 2009. So the current politically correct climate that we have today wasn't quite as astute as it was back then. So thus we have, I'm not going to say anti-lesbian sentiment in this movie, but there is some weird phallic stuff going on, and it may be construed as anti-lesbian sentiment. I'm just going to put that out there. And there's a lot of symbolism here, but we'll get to that in a second. Does an appreciation of lesbian horror-themed movies prove that one is not homophobic? I hope so, because my appreciation of lesbian pornography would certainly get me out of the homophobia range. I feel like that's just me. I love some girl on girl situations. I particularly like an office situation where there's like a supervisor and a young intern, and we have to talk, and blouses get unbuttoned. You know what I'm talking about, Jim. All right. Anyway, enough about the porno. So we're gonna jump right into this thing. Have you guys seen? I know you guys have seen Shaun of the Dead, right? I don't want to call this movie a direct ripoff of Shaun of the Dead because there are some. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about vampires instead of zombies, but it borrows quite a bit from Shaun of the Dead, and that's not necessarily saying that it's a bad thing, but
And Dracula.
Bear that in mind, okay? This is made to be a British comedy horror. So right off the bat, you're in Shaun of the Dead territory. And again, that doesn't mean it's a bad movie or that it's like some kind of plagiarism. But again, we're going to borrow quite a bit. We're going to get a lot of the same British humor.
Hi, Troy.
We've got the same. Hey, Troy's in the house.
Happy late birthday. Sorry, I had to get that in there.
Did Troy just have a birthday?
Yeah.
Hey, happy birthday, Troy. We get a lot of the same dynamic because we have the same two underachievers involved, and it's the same dynamic because we have the skinny white guy who just got broken up with. I don't know why I had to say he was white. I feel like the fact that we're in a British horror comedy, it goes without saying. We have the same skinny guy that just got broken up with his girlfriend, and the same fat loser who is there like as a comedic sidekick.
Oh, he was better looking than the skinny guy.
What?
The skinny guy was ugly.
How dare you? No, you do not. No. No. Okay. No, I'm going to disagree with you right there. Because once the skinny guy does this with his hair.
Oh my God.
What? No. No, you do not. He's a big. Oh, okay. All right. Pay no attention to her. How does this movie compare to Life Force? Well,
Life Force.
Life Force.
What?
Jim, Life Force you can beat off to. This one.
The Alien movie?
Yeah.
Wow.
She gets naked.
Oh my.
There is minimal. Okay.
Well, then you can beat off to any movie, really.
I mean,
what was that? Sorry to get off track.
As I've stated before.
Hold Your Breath. Was that the hot sex scene in
Which
the
one?
asylum?
Hold Your Breath.
Yeah. Where you have to drive through the cemetery gate and hold your breath.
Oh, that was dumb.
Yeah, but
that was a dumb
sex scene in there.
That was okay. That was all right. You could do that one.
Yeah.
You say sex scene in an asylum, I immediately jump to Leatherface.
Oh.
The prequel, where the crazy broad had her whole back burned up. All right, that's a whole other thing.
That's a different podcast.
We should do a month of horror movies that we can beat off to.
Oh, Poison Ivy.
Oh.
Ooh.
Hey now. All right. Anyway, so again, I don't want to say that this movie is ripping off Shaun of the Dead, but there are some startling similarities. So we'll jump right in with a flashback. This movie actually opens with a flashback. We have a remote village somewhere in England. And we have the blood count Carmilla, who is a raging vampire lesbian. And she is turning all the young ladies in the village into lesbians, and she's also drinking their blood, which turns them into vampires. And then we have the good Baron McCafferty, I think was the last name, McCracken, Mick something. And he comes home from the Crusades, and he finds that his fiance has been turned into a lesbian vampire. So then he swears to, destroy Carmilla. So he gets his sword blessed with the Babylonian hex and goes after Carmilla, slays her, but before she dies, she lays a curse on the village that says that every young lady on her 18th birthday is going to immediately turn into a lesbian vampire. And that royally sucks. So that's how that starts. You get this little flashback, by the way, a lot of medieval breast implants involved. And I'm a big fan of that because I like those bustiers that they wear, whatever that is, at the Renaissance fairs. That's really the only reason to go to a Renaissance fair is to see the girls in the. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to order a flag and a veil? Is that what you're going to do? You're going to cast some spells?
Okay.
You're going to get beat up in the parking lot is what's probably going to happen. So that's fun. Now we cut to present day. We're going to jump right into our protagonist, a young man by the name of Jimmy, who I think is fairly attractive. Monica doesn't like him. I don't understand why. He's being broken up with for the 9th time by his girlfriend, Judy. And we get a very weird conversation here. Now, I've been dumped once or twice in my day. Usually it goes like, hey, you go that way, I'll go this way. Well, that'll be the end of it. And I say, but wait, and then she's gone. And then that's the end of it. Judy lays down a pretty serious rap on Jimmy about, I think that we are stronger apart, but we're still together. And he's like, so we're together? And she's like, no, I'm breaking up with you. And he's like, but you said that we were stronger together apart. And she's like, yeah, the apart being the operative phrase here. And he's like, so we're together or no, we're apart. Okay, but she's like, I like us together, but apart, which is confusing. I think everybody watching the movie is confused by this. Needless to say, she's breaking up with him in a very weird way. So Jimmy's like, shit, I just broke up with, Judy just broke up with me. Now we're going to immediately cut to his best friend, Fletch, who's being fired from his job as a young children's party clown for punching a child in the face. Now, a couple things about this scene. Number one, the party clown supervisor is a mysteriously hot chick, which I find to be very weird because I feel like she's very hot. She has a spacious office, yet she's managing party clowns. Okay, that's a little weird. Anyway, she fires him for punching a kid in the face. Now, if you can get to the point of punching, if at any point in your psyche, the possibility of punching a kid in the face is a probability or even a possibility, party clown shouldn't be part of your criteria. It shouldn't even, that's not even on the menu, is what I'm saying. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking this. Anyway, he gets fired. He's all bent by his mysteriously hot boss. So now they're both kind of on the skirts because Jimmy has no girlfriend. Fletch has no job, and now they're at their local pub, which is not the Winchester, although it easily could have been. Are we seeing the similarities here yet? And I'm not, again, we're following a formula, and it's not a bad formula, but it is a formula. It's something that has been laid out previously. They're at the pub and they're drinking and they're lamenting I lost my job, I lost my girlfriend, she broke up with you, she's a bitch. You hated your job anyway. Who gives a shit? Let's have an adventure. Let's go somewhere new, and we're gonna do something cool. It'll be totally unexpected. So they grab a dart, throw it at a map, and it lands on the little village of Cragwitch, which I guess is somewhere in England. Now, a couple things before we get into Cragwitch. When they throw the dart, we go into bullet time, and the dart goes boop, right onto Cragwitch. Okay, that might mean something, it might not, and it's fine. I don't really care. Again, we're following a formula. So we're going to fast forward probably a day or two. Now, before we get to them actually landing in Cragwitch, we get another cutscene of Judy, Jimmy's ex-girlfriend, going to hook up with the guy that she was cheating on Jimmy with. A pretty handsome young man who is in the throes of banging another chick while she shows up. That looks exactly like Judy.
Her. Yeah.
Exactly like Judy. I would even argue to say not quite as hot as Judy, because later on we're going to see Judy in her underwear, and that's good business. This young lady looks more like a substitute teacher who went to Judy's school of dress and makeup, because they look very similar. So that's kind of weird. He's like, hey, hey, you broke up with your boyfriend to be with me permanently? Oh, okay, this is awkward. And here comes lady number 2, and she's like, you get the fuck out of here, you crazy bitch, and basically slams the door on Judy. Judy immediately gets on the phone, and she's like, Jimmy, I love you so much. I realize I made a mistake. Oh, my God, take me back. Now, at this point, Jimmy is already in Cragwich, literally just got off the bus in Cragwich and is walking around the woods with Fletch, mind you. Okay, so I'm a little confused on the timeline here, because it felt like the trip from Jimmy's flat, which is on the first floor, by the way, to the boyfriend's house would have taken about 15 minutes. Yet in that time, Jimmy found the time to not only go to the pub, not the Winchester, get hammered with Fletch, throw a dart at the map, go home, pack, get on the bus, and go to the village of Cragwich, which I felt like would have taken at least an afternoon. I don't know how far Cragwich was away from the pub or how long it would take them to pack. Fletch only brought like a handful of condoms and some Cheetos, so obviously not long for him. But Jimmy showed up with like one of those roll-on suitcase things, so somebody's prepared. All right, well, let's not bog ourselves down in the details here. And again, we're following the formula. So they get off the bus and they're walking around the woods, and here comes Judy's phone call. Oh my God, I love you so much. And Jimmy's like, what? I'm in the woods. I can't. What? Who? What? I can't hear you. And then Fletch grabs the phone and throws it on the ground and jumps up and down on it. He's like, look, man, she's a bitch. She broke up with you 9 times. 9 times. And, what are you even doing? You're fucking around, and you're wasting your time and her time and my time. So let's be here in the woods and let's walk around and let's figure it out. So they're walking around. Eventually, they get to the village of Cragwich. If Guy Ritchie films, it can be done. If Guy Ritchie filmed this one? I don't think Guy Ritchie filmed this one, Odd Mother. Regardless. They're walking.
Oh, I see what she's saying.
What is she saying?
I think Natalie, you mean his timeline? What you're saying?
Right. And
Guy Ritchie.
I mean, he was married to Madonna.
Poor guy. I don't know what he was thinking.
I love me some Guy Ritchie.
Guy Ritchie rocks.
Rock and rolla. Highly understated. Personally, my favorite film of Guy Ritchie's. Still haven't seen the sequel. I don't think there even is going to be one, but regardless. They get finally to the village of Cragwich, and they're like miserable, and Fletch is giving him a bunch of shit because he thought he was going to get laid on this trip. And he's like, we're out in the fucking woods, and this is bullshit. We're going to some podunk town out in the middle of fucking England. And they get there, and before they can even get like past the sign that says welcome to Cragwich, they come to like a weird pub, and out from the pub they don't crawl, they walk 4 screaming hot young ladies. Now, I'm not going to bog you down with the names and the backstories of these young ladies, because let's be honest.
Just say which one you like.
Okay.
1, 2, or 3.
No. I'm not going to number them. Okay, this isn't a concentration camp, Monica.
No, I mean like.
No. Okay, we have blonde, we have brunette, we have redhead, and then we have nerd. There's 4 of them. Okay. It doesn't matter what their names are.
Which one was the nerd?
The one with the glasses.
Oh, I liked.
It was actually
the last chick.
Which one?
The last one that climbed over the fence.
That was blonde, I think.
Okay, yeah,
she had the lollipop.
Yes.
I like brunette myself. but I've always been I've had a thing for brunettes. Anyway, here they come. There's 4 of them. They're all hot, and we get that slow motion.
What was this streaming on? Like to watch it?
I have all the Guy Ritchie movies. Love him. I agree with you, Natalie.
Where did we find this movie?
I found this one on YouTube. I don't know where you found it. You can find the full version on YouTube. It's about 120 minutes long.
Oh, I think I watched it on a Foot Locker version.
So you can do that too.
Yeah.
So regardless, here they come. It's slow. You get the slow motion shot of them hopping over the fence. One of them's got like a lollipop in her mouth, and the wind picks up all of a sudden, so they're all like, whoosh. You know what I'm saying? The whoosh as they come over the fence, and of course Jimmy and Fletch are there, and they're like, oh, look at those. And suddenly, all of a sudden, Cragwitch is crawling with hot chicks. Is what we're getting at. So they get into this busted ass VW van and go taking off down the road. They're like, we got to get into that pub because that's where the action is. They walk in there. Now, okay, you remember that scene in American Werewolf in London where David and Griffin Dunn walk into the slaughtered lamb for the first time? It's the exact same scene. They walk in there, it's a bunch of crusty old guys, and they're all half in the bag, drinking beer, and the bartender is like this dirty old hunchback. He's like, eh. And oh shit, we came into the wrong place. But they kind of stick it out for a second. They walk up and order a beer or a flagon of ale, as they put it. And the bartender comes in. He's a pretty nice guy. He's an old crusty guy. He's like, hey, these ones are on the house, guys. So they start drinking, and like 5 minutes after they sit down and actually start drinking, in runs a priest with his 18-year-old daughter. And he's like, how many more people are we going to kill in this fucking county? What are you even doing? He's like roughhousing the bartender. And all the locals are pretending not to see it. They're like, what are you fucking doing? We can't keep killing people. And Jimmy and Fletch are like, what the fuck? Halfway through this little diatribe, the priest looks over at Jimmy and runs over to him, and he's like, you're back. You son of a bitch. What are you doing here? Jimmy's like, dude, I don't fucking know what you're talking about. And then the bartender like ushers the priest and his daughter out. His daughter, Rebecca, pretty hot. Supposedly just days past 18. So Fletch heard that in the conversation. He's like, yeah. Like this fat fuck is going to have any kind of a chance with the preacher's daughter. Anyway, so here comes the bartender. He's like, oh, whoa, fellas, I'm really sorry about that. That's our local preacher. He's a bit of a nutsack. Here's a grocery bag full of beer for you. Do you guys need a place to stay tonight by any chance? And they're like, yeah, actually we do, and we're broke. So he's like, perfect. There's a little cottage just about 2 miles down the road here.
Yeah.
Go out there, chill for the night. You're gonna love it. Don't worry about payment. Fireplace, no electricity, but that's okay. Just go hang at the cottage. You can take off later. Hey, Mac Nez is in the house.
Hi, Nez.
What's up, Nez? So that's pretty cool. They're like, oh, that's great. And then just fleetingly, the bartender's like, oh yeah, I just sent a bus full of hot chicks out to that same cabbage. What? We gotta go right now. So they grab their grocery bag full of beer and go hauling ass to the cabbage. Cabbage.
Cabbage. I was like, did you just say cabbage?
I've been saying cabbage. It's a cottage.
Got it.
They're not going to a cabbage. It is a cottage. I've been drinking. I don't know if you noticed that or not.
What's up, rock star?
Yeah, man. So they go out to the cottage. Now we're going to cut to our young ladies who are in the busted ass VW van headed to the cottage. Again, we have 4 of them, and their personalities are pretty much identical. Their names don't really matter. Just to give you a snapshot of how little these young ladies mean, one of them only says, yeah. That's her. That's all of her dialogue the entire movie. Every now and then she'll just lean in and go, yeah. Which is kind of weird. I mean, I get it. These are supposed to be airheads, and I guess they're not gonna last too long, so it doesn't really matter what they have to say.
Hi, Courtney.
There is one chick that we need to be particularly mindful of, and that's the nerd of the group. We know she's a nerd because she has glasses. So they get about halfway down the road to the cottage, not the cabbage. Van breaks down. They're like, "Oh, fucking shit! What are we gonna do now? We're in the middle of this creepy forest." Okay, now again, not to nitpick this apart, but they said the cottage was about 2 miles outside of town. At this point, it's now dark outside. So I would have to say that from the time the young ladies left to the point in which the van broke down, it has been at least an hour because it's now dark. We're talking about 2 miles. Did they get lost or did they? I don't know. And again, I don't mean to nitpick this. These are just questions. And I've got some questions. She's Velma. She's Velma. You're exactly right. And if you ask me, Odd Mother, Velma, easily the hottest of the Scooby Gang. My daughter's name is Daphne, but that's only because my wife wouldn't let me name her Velma. So there's that. I actually never brought up Velma. Anyway, it has to start with a D. It's a whole D thing. Anyway, so that's kind of weird. Not that I'm paying attention to these kind of details. So lo and behold, somehow the two guys, to include one fat fuck, have caught the van on foot and are now neck and neck with it. And so where did the van go? Where have these ladies just been driving hot laps around the village this whole time? I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't mean to nitpick this.
I didn't even pay attention to that.
These are questions. Not to mention the van had at least a 20-minute head start on the fat guy walking. And now they've now caught. Okay, I'm just saying. A little bit of a continuity thing there. So they catch up. They're like, "Hey, ladies, noticed your van broke down. Can we give you a hand?" And you're like, "Oh my God, yes! Oh!" So here they come with their grocery bag full of beer. The ladies let them into the van, and Fletch is like, "Oh yeah, we're trying to get to the weird cottage at the end of outside the. Oh my God, we're going there too! Why don't you ride with us? Yay!" So they get in, they get the van started, and away they go. Excellent. Now I'm with you. You know what? I don't want to pick this movie apart, but these are some things that stood out to me. Okay. So they get to the cottage. The party continues. The ladies, of course, have weed. The guys have beer. We get one of those weird, those weird moments that happens a lot in movies where the broken-hearted young man looks at the puritanical young lady, and they just kind of make eye contact for a second, and the camera spots that, and we see them looking at each other. We know what's happening. They're falling in love. Is what's happening.
A lot of connection.
Oh, they're gonna fall in love. They just met each other, and they could both be psychos or drug addicts, or codependent types, or spousal abusers. But hey, they made eye contact for 2.5 seconds, so it's on. I'm okay with that. And again, I don't mean to pick this movie apart, but get to the cabin or cottage, whatever you want to call it. It's a creepy old cottage. It looks like something you would see in like an episode of What We Do in the Shadows or something like that. They go in. Now, all right. They get to the cottage, and there's another problem that I have here. Immediately, they go in, and the party starts. They bring their little boom box. They're playing their poppy beats, and they're dancing. Fletch is having a great time. He's probably going to have sex with the chick that keeps saying, yeah, the brunette, which would have been my first pick also, by the way. And at one point, the blonde, not the nerd, but the other blonde, says, I have to go to the bathroom. So the redhead says, oh, okay, I'll go with you. Now, the bathroom, and this is problem number 2 that I have. Okay, so the bathroom is actually an outhouse outside of the cabin. That part I understand. That indicates to me that there is no working plumbing in this cottage cabin situation. Okay, I get that. It's a creepy old place. I wouldn't expect there to be any working plumbing. But this is going to create a problem in a minute. So out they go to the outhouse, which is like a quarter mile away, apparently. Blonde goes in there, pops a squat, very cool. Redhead is outside, like posted guard. Now we start getting like the mist swirling around, and there's like hot chicks in the mist, and whoa, what the fuck is going on? Redhead disappears. There's like a lot of banging on the outhouse. The blonde, it's like apparently they stopped at Taco Bell on the way. She opens up. She's like, "Hey, what's going on? Quit fooling around!" And then we see like the hot chick vampire pop up behind her in the outhouse, and she's like, "Oh!" And then that's all we see of those two. Okay, now we've established that there's a curse on the village, and that there's lesbian vampires about, and that this could be a scary situation for any young ladies that might traverse into the village. And this is okay. So these two are now out of the equation. Now we're going to cut you inside the cottage. Here comes one of the major problems I have with this movie. And again, I don't mean to nitpick it, but this one I felt was almost insulting to me, as just somebody with like a minimal power of observation. The brunette who keeps like saying "yeah" all the time. She's like just hanging out, and then she goes, "Oh." And then the nerd is like, "Yeah, man, you stink." And she's like, "Yeah." And the nerd is like, "You should probably go take a shower." Yeah. Okay. We've just established that this cabin does not have working plumbing. Yet all of a sudden we have not only a shower, but a hot shower for this young lady to go upstairs and get naked and soap herself up in. Now, whatever. I don't care that this is a continuity problem. What I do care about is that we have a shower scene coming at us. Zero boobs involved in this. None. And I was really looking forward to seeing the brunette's boobs. We do not get to see them, despite the fact that she is in the shower, presumably naked, and all we get to see is from right about here up. Now you piss me off. Okay? Now I'm not fucking around anymore. What the hell is going on here? Now, I was willing to write off the incontinuity between the outdoor plumbing and all of a sudden the hot shower, but you jipped me on the boobs. See, so now I'm zeroed in. Now I'm paying attention. Now I know what's really going on. And now I'm angry. Oh! Okay, whatever. So we get a very Evil Dead situation where she's trying to take a shower. There's like that weird POV cam outside, and then we think that she might have like freaked out because down drops a spider, and she's like, "Oh, it's a spider!" But then the spider just goes away, and then she's like, phew. Then something else crashes through the window, and then she gets taken out, much like that.
Hi, Haley.
Oh, my parole officer is in the house. I mean, I didn't want to see her boobs anyway. Really, I mean, who's looking at boobs? I don't want to see any boobs. So what happens is that now the brunette's out of the equation, but they hear the glass breaking, so everybody downstairs. At this point, we're down to the nerd, Fletch, and Jimmy. They go running upstairs. They're like, "What the fuck happened?" The brunette is gone. The window is broken, and there's like a little bit of blood on the windowsill. So
watch yourself.
Oh, shoot. Hey, now. Hey, I didn't. What are you talking about? Oh, hey, now, watch out. There. She goes out. She's gone, man. So they run up there. They're like, "What the fuck happened?" They go running outside to try to find her, and they immediately get accosted by Blondie.
Yeah.
And now they're like, "Hey, what are you doing, Blondie? I thought you were taking a shit in the woods." So they go taking off after her. What they stumble upon is a weird lesbian vampire, misty, like writhing situation. And something about, I got to tell you right now, as far as the female vampires go in this movie, there is a shit ton of writhing going on. I get it. We saw a little bit of it in Bram Stoker's Dracula, but we get a triple scoop of it in this movie. It's just a lot of. I don't know if they're like hot for each other or if like their back hurts and they're trying to.
They're horny. Oh.
But surprisingly, very little girl on girl action in this movie. It's like a lot, like every now and then they like look at each other. And like,
they were probably just like.
But dude, I mean,
can't even explain.
I don't know either. I mean, it was steamy. There was a lot of like steam flying around, and they were all hot. They had like nightgowns on and stuff like. They look like female, like you would expect female vampires to look like. I don't know, man. I don't know what they're going for, but this is what they stumble on. And there's like one chick, and she's like, get me in the neck here. There's like two other chicks, like kind of like grinding on her in a weird way with the mist and all that. And they're like, the nerd chick is like, those are lesbian vampires. My group and I were students at the university. We came here to study the local folklore, and this village is supposed to be haunted by the curse of Carmilla, the lesbian vampire goddess, and that's what we were looking for right there is the lesbian vampires. We just found them, and I think she turned my friends into lesbian vampires also.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, Fletch is like, well, that's kind of hot, and Jimmy's like, yeah, it is actually. And she's like, no, we got to get out of here before they turn us into lesbian vampires.
Yeah, Courtney, not quite X-rated.
No,
far from it.
It would be better if we went in that direction, Courtney. So I'm sure there's like a different version of this situation on X videos or something like that. I would appreciate a link to it, Courtney, if you could find one for me. I would definitely check that out. So they're running back to the cottage, and this is where things get kind of dumb because Redhead pops up and she's like, "I'm a fucking lesbian vampire," and then Fletch kills her. Okay. So for the purposes of this movie, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking a vampire gets killed, maybe like bursts into flames, or possibly just withers away real fast. We've seen that in other movies. Or there's a lot of different ways that vampires, or from dusk till dawn, when they just explode. What you get when you kill one of these vampires is it's a facial, is what it is. They throw yogurt all over your face, is basically what happens. For lack of a better description, I mean, it's you kill them and then white jizz flies out of them and it lands all over your face and your camping equipment. Right? Am I wrong?
Is that supposed to be their orgasm?
I feel like that was some kind of a phallic thing, for the anti-lesbian movement in 2009, which I, by the way, do not support. I don't get it, man. No, I don't support the anti-lesbian movement. I'm all for lesbians.
Cats from outer space.
Okay, I don't know what that is. Hey, Damon's in the house. What's up, Damon? Courtney, I don't know what you're talking about. So that's kind of weird, right? You kill a vampire and you get a jizz facial in this movie. Now, okay, I mean, we've seen worse. They don't sparkle, at least, like they did in Twilight, right? We got that going for us. Except that once they get back to the cabin, Blondie shows up, and this part kind of pissed me off a little bit. Blondie shows up, and she's like, "Hey, I'm a vampire. I'm going to turn you into a lesbian vampire." Fletch runs inside the cabin, comes back out with a frying pan, hits Blondie over the head with it. Her head rolls off, and the jizz explosion comes out of her neck. So really, all you need to kill these vampires is a frying pan. Okay? And when you do kill them, what you get is a jizz explosion, which is probably going to land on your face. Now, let's not pick this movie apart. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be the guy that takes a big fat dump all over lesbian vampires. But I feel like there's a lot of symbolism here and a lot of things that I don't know. I just didn't find. Did you find that funny?
No.
I feel like when you kill a lesbian,
I was like,
vampire.
Since when can you kill a vampire with
a frying pan to the head?
To the head, really?
Is it lesbian yogurt? It could be, Clay. I don't know the sexual proclivities of the yogurt. I don't even know. It might have actually been semen coming out of these young ladies. I don't know, man. I don't know what direction we're going with this. Okay, so anyway, they run back inside. And this begins our siege narrative because we have Jimmy, we have the nerd, and we have Fletch in the cabin, and they're like, okay, we got to barricade this place. It's going to be great. Now we're going to cut to Judy, Jimmy's ex-girlfriend, who has been trying to track Jimmy down, somehow zeroed in on his location in the village of Cragwitch, which is funny because at no point during the previous phone conversation did he mention Cragwitch or where he was or really anything at all before Fletch grabbed the phone and started jumping up and down on it.
Maybe she traced the phone.
With a penis sword. I'm going to get to the penis sword in a second here, Odd Mother. I'll give you that.
Maybe she pinged the phone.
Maybe she's like a police officer or FBI agent. I don't know.
I would find out where the ping was and
sure.
that you were on a bus and where was that bus going to.
Okay. Mm-hmm. You're a bit of a psycho.
I am a stalker, but sorry.
She's fine. She's safe for the most part. Judy is now in the village of Cragwitch, running around trying to find Jimmy. She's went to the pub, and the pub, the crusty old guy's like, yeah, send him down there. He's a bunch of hot chicks. He's going to go to the cabin there. So she's now on her way to the cabin. She gets about as halfway as far as the busted up van did, and then her car breaks down. And she's now walking around her car. Oh, what the fuck am I going to do? Yeah, funny how whenever a hot chick drives to the cabin, their car breaks down.
Yeah, there must be like
a barrier.
Yes, right there. All cars stop.
Yeah,
you have to walk. So
from that point forward, yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So she now shows up at the cabin, and she's like, "Oh my god!" And Jimmy's like, "Judy, what are you doing here? Come on in. There's fucking vampires out there."
Where do you find these movies?
These ones were recommended by our own Odd Mother, Courtney.
Yeah, Courtney.
So you can blame her for this.
And if you want to pick us movies, you can.
$5 donation, paddedroompodcast.com. You can have the month of July. It's wide open for your viewing and listening pleasure. I'm trying my hardest not to shit on this movie. And whatever movies you pick, I will try just as hard not to shit on them also. So, regardless. Judy shows up at the cabin. She's like, oh my God, Jimmy, I love you so much. Please let me in. He's like, yeah, get in here, man. There's fucking vampires out there. She goes in there. They start making out. The nerd is like, oh God, I was just going to bang Jimmy. I'm a virgin, by the way. I was saving myself. So Fletch is hearing this, and he's like, oh, you're a virgin, huh? Yeah, let me break out my handful of condoms here. I'm a big fat fuck, by the way. So here you go. Like that's going to turn her on or something. So Judy's like, come on, Jimmy, let's go upstairs and talk about it. I got to tell you, Judy in her underwear, I like that. Judy had a pretty nice body on her. And she's a bit of a bitch, though, because obviously cheating on Jimmy and, the whole back and forth, break up with you, take you back thing. Mm-hmm. So regardless, they go upstairs. She gets into her underwear. About this time, Fletch is striking out with the nerd chick. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to go check on Jimmy real quick. Spots the vampire action because Judy pops the fangs and she's like, I'm going to get you. Mm-hmm. So Fletch runs in and hits her in the head with an axe, causes a hatchet wound, which, of course, jizz also shoots out of Judy's head. Yeah. It's a nice bukkake all over the room. It's beautiful. Jimmy's like, oh, God, you're a fucking vampire, too. So he grabs the axe and finishes Judy off, which then Nerd Girl sees that. And she's like, oh, my God, you're single again. Look at you killing your girlfriend.
Yeah, never mind about that.
I mean, I'm sure she was a vampire and stuff, but you are single and ready to mingle. So they're falling in love. Fletch is like, well, you just cockblocked me, you motherfucker. How dare you kill your girlfriend in front of the chick that I was trying to bang? So he's like, I'm going to go take a piss. Fletch goes walking outside, thinking he's going to give him, Jimmy and Nerd Girl, a chance to bang, which is, a solid bro move. Unfortunately, Fletch isn't really paying attention to the whole situation because once he gets outside, he realizes, oh, fuck. Yeah. Lesbian vampires are about to get eaten. He goes running back inside. Jimmy and the Nerd Girl are up there having like a tender moment. A bunch of lesbian vampires show up at the front door. And
God.
They're like, ah. And Fletch is like, well, you're a vampire, so as long as I don't invite you in, we're good to go. We just have to wait for daylight. As long as I don't say, hey, vampires, why don't you come on in? Which, of course, he just said. So now they can just walk right into the fucking cabin. So they come walking in, and now we have like that pretty much ends our siege narrative. So in they come. They actually take Jimmy and the nerd chick and disappear. Fletch is now on his own. He was trying, oddly enough, he was trying to beat off in the bathroom. In runs the preacher, which is kind of a weird situation, and saves him from another hot vampire chick. He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm trying to beat off." It's like, "The lesbians, you're sinning right now, you son of a bitch." She's like, "Oh, what? Hey, sorry. Oh, I just gonna, when in Rome, I guess." So now we have a weird, like, buddy cop situation between the preacher, who was previously yelling at everybody, and Fletch, the loser. And they've now got to go save Nerd Girl and Jimmy, who are about to be sacrificed to resurrect Carmilla. And this is where we find out they take him to Carmilla's tomb, which is way out in the middle of the fucking forest there, strap him up, take Jimmy's shirt off, and he's got like a birthmark, which looks like scratch marks across his chest, which means that he's actually the last descendant of the Baron that was mentioned in the flashback at the beginning of the movie. So everybody, oh, you're the one, you're the chosen one, oh. And then cut to Fletch and the preacher, and he's like, "Hey, man, did your friend there have like a birthmark?" He's like, "Yeah, okay, he's the fucking, he's the prophesized savior of the village." Now, the preacher, as you'll remember, had an 18-year-old daughter who's back at home. And he's constantly got to go back to check on her to make sure she doesn't get lesbianized or vampirized or lesbian vampirized by the hot chicks of the village. So the plan via the preacher in Fletch is to go to the Baron's tomb, where we have to dig up the Baron, find the sacred sword that was blessed by the Babylonian whatever, and get that, because that's the only thing that's going to go kill the vampire countess of lesbians. And that's what we got to do, man. We gotta lock that in. We got to make that happen. Monica, it's a
do or
die situation. You got to believe in yourself. So they go to the graveyard. They're listening to like Christian rock the whole way there. It's kind of weird. They go to pry open the tomb. The preacher can't get it open, so he's like, "Fletch, you got to do this. I'm gonna go check on my daughter because I'm pretty sure she's gonna turn into a lesbian vampire." He goes hauling ass back to the village. Fletch is like, "I can't get this fucking thing open." While we're at the village, we see the daughter. She's got like plain white eyes. She does that. Snap the eyes open. Move. Oh, what's going on? Preacher's like, "Okay, great." Now, before the preacher can get back to help Fletch, the daughter gets there before the preacher does, and is now, of course, a lesbian vampire because she's officially 18. So she attacks Fletch. Fletch is like, "Hey, man, hey," now stabs her in the chest, and of course the jizz explosion and all that. Preacher shows up. He's like, "Hey, man, you get that coffin open yet?" And he's like, "No, I can't. I tried. I can't do it." So he gets the coffin open, sends Fletch down there to get the sword. This part I thought was particularly stupid because
that is not true.
What's happened? Goes lesbian after a few tequila shots. I've got some tequila right out there in my kitchen.
It has to be the right girl.
The right girl? I know some girls. I can have them over here in no time. Parole officer, I will get with you on that, and my lady friends. So he goes down into the crypt, and he just starts laughing. This part I thought was pretty stupid because the handle of the sword resembles a penis. Now, it's not like a full-on cock. It just vaguely resembles a penis. I was like, is it that funny? What are you, 12? Is it really that? It's not even that. And then when he pulls the sword out,
it's just ridiculous.
It doesn't even look like a penis that much. It looks like the fucking handle of a sword. What are you doing, dude?
I know.
You're supposed your friends' lives are on the line, and you're having a laugh about the. All right, you're an adolescent, is what you are. So he gets the sword out, and then we do get kind of a funny scene after he gets the sword out, where he's like, "Are you talking to me?" He's like practicing with the sword. Come on, cock sword. I did get a chuckle out of that. I thought that was pretty funny. Him practicing with the sword.
Look, he knows which girl I like.
The girl from the Australian horror movie. Which Australia? Oh.
Yes, she's got the most beautiful freaking arms in the whole fucking world.
No, you're thinking. Was he thinking of High Tension?
Yes.
That
yes.
was
I love her.
Parole officer. That was actually French. And I will tell you that I know a female police officer that probably has a better body than the High Tension chick. Well, I'll message you after the show. We'll make this happen. Anyway, she's if you know a thing. Anyway, so he gets out. He's got the sword, and they're like, okay, they're probably going to sacrifice your friend to the blood count. We got to get to the blood counts tomb before the stroke of midnight, because that's when they got to sacrifice him. So let's go over there and save him. So they're driving over there. Ed, or I keep wanting to call him Ed because that's what the character in Shaun of the Dead. Fletch is like filling up his condoms with holy water. He's getting all tied off and ready to go. And then they get to the coffin, and now they're having like the full-on lesbian. The nerd chick is like, hey, Jimmy, I think you're pretty hot. I think we could have been together. And Jimmy's like, oh, my God, I thought you were hot, too. And she's like, I've never been with a man before. And he's like, oh, I'll bang you. So the romance is solidifying despite the fact that they're both strapped down to these tombs and they're about to be sacrificed to a blood countess, which is all well and good. The preacher and the Fletch show up just in a nick of time because they cut them both open. Their blood swirls into like a weird vortex in which the blood countess's carcass is like raising through the blood like she's going to resuscitate. And then here comes Fletch and the preacher. The preacher is like, hey, I got my crossbow. Oh, whoops, I never actually fired it before. It doesn't actually work. So the lesbians are like, we're going to get you. And then Fletch is like, oh, shit, I left the sword back in the car. Oh. So luckily, the preacher like puts his cross on the two tombs, which releases the I guess the roots or whatever it was that was holding our two hostages in place. The nerd chick goes running this way. Jimmy goes running that way, which leads him to the preacher and Fletch. And they're like, hey, man, we're here to save your ass. So congratulations on that. A lot of fighting, a lot of like vampire, like a whole lot of jizz as the vampires get killed. The white smegma is just flying, hitting the trees everywhere. It's disgusting. It's like a weird Asian porno situation. So that's pretty gnarly. They get to fucking around, and then eventually the nerd chick kicks the shit out of the Baron's fiance, who was like one of the original vampires. Now, luckily, at this point, Carmilla hasn't fully resurrected yet, but she does very quickly, and she's got like hair horns, which I thought was a nice touch. The hair horns that like it's like a weird wire hanger thing that come out. And they make it look like she's some kind of a demon. I felt like. You didn't get that?
Yes, she did.
A little bit. I thought she was hot with the hair. No, you're not.
No, I'm trying to think of what movie it almost felt like.
Vamp. I felt like a vamp. Not Grace Jones's character. Or not vamp. I'm thinking of Fright Night 2.
Yes.
Yes, with that chick. Because she was pretty hot, too. But she had like a whole harem of people that followed her around. Anyway, so big battle, needless to say. Eventually, Jimmy gets his hands on the cock sword and he starts killing the vampires. He throws it as Carmilla has got Fletch in one hand and the nerd girl in the other hand, and she's like choking them both out. The sword goes through her. The hilt actually pulls her heart through her out of the back just as the sun's coming up, which releases the curse and kills her. And then all the lesbians go back to being mortals. And I mean, they're still lesbians, but now they're mortal lesbians. So they're not vampires anymore, which means they just want to have sex with each other, which is something I'm a fan of. And after that, then we get like them hopping back into the preacher's station wagon. And they're like, hey, there's more lesbian vampires out there and we should go kill them. And they're like, okay, let's do it. And I don't know if they were hoping for a sequel or something, or these three knuckleheads are going to be the Scooby Gang of vampire killers. It's very anti-lesbian sentiment, and I don't feel that was necessary at all. So there's that. Late horror shows in the house. What's up, guys?
Hi, guys.
Lesbian Vampire Killers.
Yeah.
Have you seen it? So what were your thoughts on Lesbian Vampire Killers, Monica? It's
I don't even know what to think. Like I told you earlier, I did feel like the opening scene was from Dracula.
The flashback?
Yeah, where she's doing the talking and the curse.
Yeah, of course.
And then Shaun of the Dead.
That was a very lengthy curse, by the way. She went on for like 20 minutes. Your daughters and your daughters' daughters' daughters and your daughters' 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 daughters.
I think they were mocking the movie.
Well, clearly. I mean, it's supposed to be a comedy.
The part that I could not stand was every time the lesbian vampires showed up.
All the writhing.
The mist.
Yeah.
And the light in the background.
There's a lot of writhing.
And all the see-through, the clothes. I'm like, oh God, here we go. And the fog machine.
Let me tell you something. If lesbians actually did that and looked like that, I would be a huge fan of lesbians. You would see me at the gay bar every night, as if you don't already. Wow, I don't understand. How about Hammer Horror, Twins of Evil? Gotta love Hammer Girls. That was a good show. Late horror show, Twins of Evil. You remember that one? The two twin daughters, and one of them.
One was
screaming hot. They both thought it had some very funny moments. Odd Mother. There was a lot of adolescent humor in it. I think James Corden was probably the highlight of this whole movie. Just him and
I agree.
His antics.
It was almost like Tucker and Dale too.
It's a fun, underrated movie. I would say. I don't think it's quite on Tucker and Dale level with the comedy.
Well, no, not on the comedy, but I think because you had the fat guy and the skinny guy. The fat guy was the funny guy once again.
Yeah. Same thing with Shaun of the Dead.
Exactly.
And I felt like this one borrowed a lot from Shaun of the Dead.
Yes.
Same dynamic between the two losers. Same heartbreaking of the underachiever, which is fine.
What was the movie that we watched?
Which one?
Where the guys where 7 or 8 guys got on the bus and went to another London town where they heard there were women outnumbered the men, but they turned into zombies.
Turned into zombies?
Yeah, the women were zombies in the town. And the guys went there thinking they could hook up.
I was thinking of Hostel until you said zombies.
No. We watched this movie.
Huh.
Yeah. If
drawing
anybody
a blank.
knows that movie.
The women were zombies.
It was another British movie. Dark and gray and gloomy.
Oh God, with the British. I tell you what.
Yeah.
This is week 2 of Great Britain horror here in the padded room. Britain looks miserable. I'll be honest with you. It's cloudy as shit. Everybody just walks around. Your girlfriend breaks up with you to go nail some other dude, and
super white.
Pasty over there.
Bad teeth.
Fucking get bad teeth.
Bad teeth.
That's another thing, man. Not as pronounced as it was in Calling, but still, there was some bad teeth in this one. Another problem I had with this movie, and I'm sorry, but did you notice the accents on the hot chicks? They just kind of came and went. Like the nerd chick had the nerd chick had like a French accent for a minute, and then it went away, and then she had like a British, and then that went away, and then it kind of went to like an Eastern European thing. She was all over the place with the accent, dude.
Oh, see, I thought the nerd chick was like Australian at
She
first.
could have been
like,
with her accent. It was. I don't know what you're doing, dude. Just
okay, I didn't even really pay attention to that part.
If English is your second language, then that young lady should be playing the chick that only says yeah.
Which one came first, Tucker and Dale or Lesbian Vampire Killers?
Lesbian Vampire Killers came out in 2009. I think Tucker and Dale came about the same time. Yeah. Tucker and Dale much better than Lesbian Vampire Killers, Richard, in my opinion.
But Dracula first, right?
Well, I mean,
and then Shaun of the Dead.
Well, are we talking about horror comedies?
Well, the years, so these people could have.
Dracula was 1992, so that clearly came out first. And I think they set the lesbian vampire template with the hot chicks on this one. With the dude, what's up with the writhing, man? I mean, I get it. You're lesbians and you're hot for each other. Either have sex or don't have sex. Don't just keep.
Well, don't vampires do that when they can't touch you yet?
Why wouldn't they be able to touch you?
I don't know.
Either fucking, I don't know, suck my dick or don't.
I thought
Don't
they
just stand there doing
grab
that.
you anywhere.
That's what I'm saying. If you want to bite me, then bite me. Don't just stand there acting like you're going to bite me. Or bite each other if that's what you're into. I don't care. But with the writhing, it's like that scene in Hellbound Heart. You know what I'm saying? Where Frank is in his hell and he's a horny prick, obviously. So they keep rolling out the hot chicks. Yeah. They keep rolling out the hot chicks with the sheets on them, and they're all writhing around. Oh, come fuck me, come fuck me. And then he pulls the sheet off, and they're gone. That's what these broads are doing. Oh, come fuck me, come fuck. Oh, I'm a lesbian. Get the fuck out of here. Get out of here with your hard. Don't even look at me. Yeah. I don't want nothing to do with you. So really, I mean, if you think about it, the two dudes in this situation, they had nothing to worry about, really. Yeah. I mean, they might have got killed, right, or drained dry, but they're not going to be vampires because they're not ladies and they're not lesbians. So.
Yeah, they didn't have to worry.
No problemo for those guys. And one of them's a big fat guy too. So.
What is that?
I mean, I'm just saying. That's a situation there. One of them is a pretty attractive young man. The other one, not so much. You do a sit up or two or have a salad. I'm just saying. That's a thing. That's a thing in the movie. And just like they're lesbians, it's also a thing.
Hi, Teresa.
Teresa's in the house. What's up, Teresa? All right, that was Lesbian Vampire Killers. You can find this one on YouTube if you want to check it out. There is some nudity involved. Well, you can probably watch this one in front of your kids as long as they don't read too much into the jizz stuff. There's a lot of it. Monica, yes or no? How many skulls would you give this on the Skullometer?
2.
2 out of 5?
2.
I'm going to go 3 out of 5. All right, you got some pretty nice boobies. Some of the humor hit home. I thought there was some. I got some chuckles out of it. Not very scary at all. In fact, it's
like Hocus Pocus to me.
There's a lot of things that don't add up, like the shower in the cottage, which clearly is not supposed to have indoor plumbing. And again, I'm not nitpicking this. I'm just saying, as a guy watching the movie, you're going, they got to walk a quarter mile outside of the cabin and take a shit. But there's a hot shower right upstairs. How the fuck does that work? That's just something that, I mean, that's a question you're gonna think of while you're watching this. All right. I don't want to shit on this movie anymore. I'm sorry if I did, Odd Mother, but I just had some questions. That's all. It's just a few questions. Just gonna put that out there. Anyway, thank you guys very much for joining us. PaddedRoomPodcast.com is where you can find us. All of our subsidiary shows. We have all kinds of programming over there for your listening enjoyment. This is actually a small portion of our actual podcast. It's going to be available for download probably in about 2 hours from now over at PaddedRoomPodcast.com, available on iTunes, Stitcher, anywhere you might find a podcast, you'll find us there also. In the meantime, I think we're going to take us a little break and we'll come back with some other stuff.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Where is my... There, wait, no, I found it. No, I lost
it. It's in your pants.
My mouse is in my pants?
Yes.
My mouse is in my pants. Thank you guys very much for joining us. Join us next week. We're still in Odd Mother Month here in the Padded Room. Cruel Peter is the name of the movie.
Cruel
Peter. I'm excited for this one.
Peter.
I haven't seen it yet.
Never heard of it. Can we find this?
I don't know.
Okay.
I saw the disc was at Walmart the other day.
Oh, okay.
So if I have to, I'll buy it and I'll run it out too. I just chalk it up to being British. Yeah, you get that a lot, Richard. A lot of weird British humor that doesn't make a lot of fucking sense here in the States. You know, but
yeah, it doesn't.
But if you watch a movie like Shaun of the Dead, it's still funny.
Because my favorite show was Absolutely Fabulous, and
Ab Fab.
That had like no humor. You just had to
The-
be an alcoholic to like.
You just had to be a horny old lady, really, which is. I'm just saying.
I liked it in my 20s.
It was a good. I love that fan. That was a great show. Those two fucking bitches.
Yeah.
Always trying to bang their personal trainers and stuff like that. You guys fucking rock. Thank you very much, Ryan. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week.
Mm-hmm.
Check out if you can find Cruel Peter. Check that out,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll maybe we can compare notes
Watch it
next week.
before we come on.
Yeah, man.
So we can share notes.
Let us know what you think of Cruel Peter, and if you don't like it, you can blame Odd Mother because she picked all our movies this month. What did she have lined up for us in the next? Oh, Catacombs. That one I like.
Yes, I can't wait for that.
That's
one.
a good show. We should all watch Basket Case.
I love Basket Case.
Teresa, I recently watched on Joe Bob's drive-in show the other one. What's the other one? It's Basket Case, Frankenhooker, and Brain Damage was the third. It's Frank Henenlotter's 80s trilogy. He did Basket Case, Brain Damage, and Frankenhooker. Now, if I had to pick one of the three, I'm a Frankenhooker guy. That's always been my jam.
I have not watched that one.
You haven't seen Frankenhooker?
No.
Dude! Have you seen Brain Damage?
Which one is that one?
That's the one where he's basically a drug addict. He puts a little parasite on his neck, and then it makes him high. Then he goes kills people and eats their brain juice.
Oh no, I have not seen that.
You should check that one out too. If you like dude, they're all pretty much the same movie. It's a Frank Henenlotter situation. So
I'll watch it tomorrow.
Check it out. You're gonna love that. Teresa, I will watch Basket Case with you anytime you say. In the meantime, however, we got a rest of the show to record. So thank you again for joining us. We'll see you next week with Cruel Peter.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
I was gonna do.
Have a great week.
Yeah.